Hi everyone, and welcome to Artaic's Tylist software video session. So I'm assuming everyone's already registered for the Design and Gather competition. Once you register online, you're going to download the package, which is a DNG 2017 resources.zip folder. If you double click that folder, it should open up into a DNG 2017 resources folder. So I'm going to open that up and talk a little bit about what comes in that. We have our Artaic tile guide, which is a PDF with info about our 3/8 vitreous glass, which we'll be using for this project. We have our Bostik grout guide, Design and Gather competition overview. Definitely take a look at this. Tells a little bit more about the inspiration behind the project and the high bellagio where this mosaic will be going. We have our Mosaic template.tylist file. We have our Tylist step-by-step guide. In case this doesn't answer all of your questions, you can take a look at this guide and read about the steps. We have our Tylist package, which I'm assuming you've already downloaded and installed the software. If you guys have any questions about the installation or downloading process, shoot us an email at info@artaic.com. And then finally, we've got this Your Artwork template. So this is just a template for you to put your original artwork into. It is a perfect square and it is sized perfectly for our mosaic project. So before I do anything else, I'm going to make sure my original artwork fits into this square template. So let's just say this is my original artwork right here. It's a raw photo. It's in rectangular form, and it's much bigger file size than the template. So I'm just going to paste it into the template. I'm going to have to scale it down quite a bit and probably crop it because it's not in square format, but that's okay. And then once I've cropped it, sized it, I'm going to save it as a new JPEG file. I'm just going to call it My Square Art, and then we'll set that aside for later. Now we're going to open up Tylist. When it first opens up, it's going to be completely blank, and it's not going to be the right size, which is why we included a Mosaic template.tylist file in your resources folder. So to open up the template, we're going to go to the top left, and there is a yellow folder icon. If you hold the cursor over it, it'll tell you what it is, and it says Load Project, so we're going to click that one. We're going to go to our DNG Resources folder, and we're going to open up the Mosaic template file. So as you can see, it says Tylist. If we go to the right-hand side where it says Mosaic size, it's about 97 inches, which is over our 8 foot by 8 foot by just a little. And has our 3/8 vitreous glass. So these are all preset for you. And now we just need to get our artwork in square format into Tylist. So in order to do that, we're going to go back up to the left-hand corner to this blue icon that says New Image. And don't worry about saving this one. We're going to save your final project later. So we're going to find mysquareart.jpg, and then we're going to bring it into Tylist. So you can see at the upper left-hand corner, there are these little tabs that say Input, Output, Palette, Info. So the input is going to show you your original artwork, and the output is going to show you it in mosaic form. Palette just shows you the tiles you're using, and info tells you a little more about the project. It starts out having this lime green grid over the image. What this grid does is show you 1 square foot sections, and if you don't want it, all you have to do is press Command B and it'll go away. Tylist has a row of tools at the top and on the right hand side, and I'm going to start with the ones on the right because these are more general edits And I would say the tools at the top are for more fine-tuning. I'm going to start with the input settings, which is the very first top collapsible panel. If you click input settings, it opens up and closes. Input settings are a lot like photo filters. You can do brightness, contrast on a sliding scale. You can use them in input mode or in output mode, so definitely play around with those. Then underneath that we have mosaic size, so this should be 8 foot by 8 foot, and this has been preset for you, so do not change that. Then underneath that we have mosaic rendering. For style, I always put it as sharp so the image is nice and clean. And then we have our dithering scale. So dithering is kind of like the fuzziness of your image. If you have an image with graphic hard edges, you would want a low number on the dither scale. And if there's something that's fuzzy or really blended, you'll want a higher number. Our next section on the right-hand side, tools, is the tile palette. It should be preset at 0.375 standard, and that is our 3/8 vitreous glass. Do not change anything about that. Underneath that, we have our vitreous glass types. If you click the word vitreous glass, it'll expand and show you all the different colors we have. When you first load an image into Tylist, all of the colors are checked. A quick way to only check the ones you're using is to go to the top left, edit, and then click deselect unused tiles. So what this will do is uncheck any colors that are not used in your image. From there on, all you have to do to add color is check and uncheck boxes. Sometimes if you check a box, it'll still say 0 just because that color isn't present in your input image, and that would be a time when you'd have to add the color manually with the tool at the top, which I'll get to later. The last section on the right hand side is our grout section, and so this can be a really important factor of a mosaic. You want to choose a grout that brings out the best in your image and isn't distracting from it. So definitely play around with a bunch of different grout choices if you can. So now we're going to do some fine tuning with the tools at the top. The colorful 4 squares is our tile palette. I like to have it open, and you can click a color and there's a black box around it indicating which color you've selected. Sometimes when I select a color, I like to zoom in by scrolling, and then I pick the green pencil tool, and this allows you to add in a tile color one at a time, which sometimes is perfect for the final touches of your mosaic. To the right of the pencil tool is the eraser, which just deletes tiles. You're probably not going to want to use that because it reveals the grout behind, and we want to make sure that every square inch of this 8 foot by 8 foot section is covered in tile. We don't want any missing sections, so I wouldn't use the eraser. Next to the eraser is the magic wand tool, and this highlights all of one color of tile. It's really good for seeing where you might have a color. The next tool to the right of that is a paint bucket. This one can be used by selecting a color from your palette and dyeing all of one color into a different color tile. The next tool is the eyedropper, which acts the same as selecting a color on the palette. If you click the eyedropper tool over a color, you have now selected that color. The blue box, or the region tool, is good for cutting out sections if you have say a countertop space. We're not going to really need it for this 8 foot by 8 foot panel because it just reveals the grout behind. And then finally there is the crop tool, which you also aren't going to be using, but it's good to know. Command T is the crop tool, and it allows you to crop out part of the image if you want a smaller mosaic, but to keep part of the image. another tool we won't be using in this competition. But that's good to know. So when you're finally done editing your mosaic, we're going to want to save and submit. So you're going to be saving your .tylist file that can only be opened with the Tylist software. So to save your file, you're going to go to the upper left-hand corner to that red floppy disk. Click it, save it as your name anywhere, probably on your desktop, and hit save. Then we're going to go back to designandgather.com to where you downloaded your package originally, and it'll say submit your design. So we're going to click submit your design. It's going to take us to a new page that has you fill out some fields about your design, and don't forget to fill out the design description portion. It's really important that we get a good understanding of your concepts and your inspiration behind this project. So thanks again for downloading and making artwork in Artaic's Tylist software for the Design and Gather 2017 competition. We look forward to seeing your submissions.